Well, even Fox News is admitting that grocery prices are skyrocketing, which is not good news for Donald Trump, who promised to bring prices down. Watch.
Egg prices are soaring. Last week, the average wholesale price for large white shell eggs reached $8 for a dozen. This is wholesale. Retail, it's higher than this. The previous all-time wholesale price was $5.46 back in December 2022. How much are eggs retail right now?
Right now, probably $11, $12, $13, $14. Which ones you want? Brown eggs, you want free-range eggs, et cetera, et cetera. But they're in the low teens right now.
I've never seen anything like that. Well, $14 for a dozen eggs.
They're killing the chickens.
Yeah.
And because of bird flu, right?
Because of bird flu. Now, let's ask the $64 trillion question. Is this another COVID crisis to greet President Trump?
Wow.
And we don't know that.
I'm getting anxiety already.
You just stuck your finger in it.
You know things are bad when even Fox News is throwing up red flags. But don't worry, because MAGA has a plan. And by plan, I mean a way of gaslighting farmers into believing that disruption is good.
The issue is it's a signed contract. It's a legally binding contract. They're not backing out on it. They're not paying out on it. So it puts me in a bind because I've made business decisions based on that contract.
What do you say to Skylar Holden and people in that predicament?
What I would say is Congress, that the government needs to do a better job at working for the American people. Too often, it seems like the American people's working for the government, and the whole purpose of freezing and putting a hold on everything right now is to review to make sure it's working the way that Congress and the executive is supposed to implement. It's unfortunate that this is the case. I've been talking with several farmers that have been experiencing this and trying to help guide them through this process. But it's all going to work out. Right now, it's a little bit disruptive, but that's what this administration promised whenever they were coming to Washington,
so
is that they would be disruptive and look at ways to make the government more efficient and working for the people.
Ah, yes, disruption, which is MAGA's way of saying, don't worry, we're going to screw you over, but it's part of the plan, so just be happy with it. Imagine being a farmer working all day from 4 a.m. and not getting the financial support you're supposed to get and having this guy, Representative Jason Smith, be like, it's okay. It's part of the plan. You'll go bankrupt. That's part of the plan.
But on prices, people are wondering, when are the groceries going to go down? When are the housing costs going to go down? When are the inputs into their lives going to go down?
Effectively, they're not, though, right? That would be deflation. When we say price is going to, it means they finally stabilize at about a 1% inflation. If you had everything go down 10%, that might sound great, but that means we have a massive economic crisis in the country, right?
Exactly.
So when we talk about price stabilization, we want it to get back to about 1%, which is kind of where you want things to be.
Oh, so lowering prices is bad? Because MAGA spent years saying that Biden was raising prices and they were going to come in and lower prices. But now this former Governor Sununu is saying, no, they're going to keep prices the same or slight inflation. The point is that it's funny how quickly they turned the goalposts around. Because when Biden was in power, it was all Biden, inflation, the grocery prices are up, it's all Biden's fault, It had nothing to do at that point. They never said it had anything to do with the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, the fact that the whole world was suffering with economic problems, the fact that America actually had one of the softer landings of all the Western countries coming out of the pandemic. The fact that our inflation slowed down a lot faster than a lot of other countries' inflation slowed down. None of that stuff was being brought up by MAGA when they were running for presidency. But now that they're in, they're like, no, actually, there's going to be some pain. It's part of the plan. Just be ready for the pain. We're going to cut a lot of the government programs that help the farmers who voted for Donald Trump. They're going to cut those programs because they say it's wasteful. And you got billionaire, the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, running point guard on all this. He's running point. And he's saying, oh, don't worry, it's gonna be tough. Yeah, it's gotta be really tough to be worth $200 billion. And you gotta maybe, instead of getting the top line tequila, you get the even higher line tequila. Because this guy's running all the way to the bank. Elon Musk's worth has increased by 200 and some odd billion dollars ever since Donald Trump became president. And now he's in the government, part of DOGE, cutting programs that would have benefited this farmer that we saw earlier who was saying, hey, there was a contract. They were supposed to help us out, but they're not helping us out. And the fact is, you saw that other representative, Jason Smith, saying, well, this is, part of it. There's going to be a little bit of difficulty, but in the long run, it'll be fine. Well, the problem is that this whole DOGE thing and cutting government programs, they're not doing it in a surgical way where they're saying, okay, let's keep the money flowing to where it needs to flow, and then let's look and see if there's any waste in between and pull out the waste. No, they're going in, they're just cutting everything. They're saying, let's cut everything. Let's cut the employees, federal employees. Let's cut a lot of these different benefits that we're giving to people like farmers who need it, or single moms, or others who need government assistance. Let's cut the whole thing, and then let's work backwards. Now, why are they doing all this? That's the question. Why are they trying to cut costs? Obviously, we all want to cut costs. We don't want wasteful spending. Obviously, we would all like to have our tax dollars going to where we want them to go and being efficient. That all makes sense. However, what they're doing, if you look at the reason why Elon Musk and all of the tech bros and all of the billionaires who gave to Donald Trump are now hanging out at the inauguration, in the front row of the inauguration. If you look at what those guys are all looking forward to, is there's another tax cut coming. There's a tax cut extension coming, and the corporate tax rate is going to go down even more. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to justify that by saying, you know what, we're going to cut some government spending, and we're also going to put tariffs on other countries. Those tariffs will bring in some money. The lowering of the government spending will lower our, basically our nut of how much we spend, and therefore we can afford these tax breaks for corporations. Not telling you the rest of it, which is when they cut these programs, people like that farmer are going to suffer. He may go bankrupt. These people don't have $250, $300 billion to hang out just like Elon Musk would. No. They count on the government to support them. There's programs that we're cutting, like USAID. They're saying, oh, it's fully corrupt. But USAID helps other countries eradicate diseases. It helps other countries do humanitarian stuff that in the long run will affect America as well. So all of these things that they're cutting, and they're trying to make them look like they're demonizing these government subsidies and programs, they're needed. Again, we can look at them and make them more efficient, but they are needed. But what they're doing is bringing those costs down, right, by cutting these things. Then they're going in and saying, well, the tariffs are going to bring in basically China and Canada and Mexico will be paying the taxes that we would pay. They're going to take the place of the taxes with their tariffs. Again, not telling you that once you put tariffs on these different countries and the imports that they're bringing in, it's actually going to raise the cost of products here. Like Trump just put tariffs on steel coming into America, and already we're hearing anybody who uses any kind of metals saying that they're going to raise prices. Just the other day, there was a thing on Coca-Cola and some of these soda companies saying, well, the cans we use count on metals, so expect our prices to either go up or we're going to use more plastics. So you see how it's not so simple. And so then we end up taking the costs. So we're going to pay the costs for the tariffs. We're going to have our subsidies, or people that need it are going to have subsidies cut. And all of this is being done while they're also taking immigrants who work in a lot of these industries who are undocumented, and they are expelling them from the country. They're deporting them from the country, which again is going to make it so that these farmers who rely on these undocumented workers to work there, they're going to actually not be able to afford any help, and there won't be anybody to help them. So these farmers who voted for Donald Trump are now seeing the repercussions. The guy promised everything. That's what he does. Imagine this. He's the guy who sat there at a debate and said that immigrants are eating cats and dogs. And people voted for that guy. People trusted that guy. The people, the Palestinians trusted that guy when he said, oh yeah, I'm going to help you out. And then he goes, oh, you know what? We're going to take over Gaza. If you trusted that guy, then you're an idiot. I'm sorry. You shouldn't have trusted that guy. He's lied his whole life from the beginning when he was first a real estate guy in New York, and he was calling, it was either Forbes or Fortune magazine, because he wasn't on the list of the richest people in the country. So he pretended to be his own secretary named Barron, his own representative named Barron, which turns out to be his son's name in the future. But back then, in the early 80s, he wanted to get into this list. So he called and said, I'm Barron. I'm calling on behalf of Mr. Trump. You guys made a mistake. You got to put him back into this richest people of the country. So this guy's been lying from the start, and yet people keep falling for it. Remember, he did that little speech where he said, the snake said, the snake bit the guy, and the guy said, why would you bite me? And he said, I told you that I'm a snake from the beginning. He was quoting something. I don't even know what it was. But he's basically bamboozled all these people to vote him in. Why? Because he's enriching himself. Why? Because he kept himself out of jail by doing that. He would have been in prison for instigating the insurrection of 2020. And now people are finding out and remembering what a weasel this guy is and what a weasel Elon Musk is. And these billionaires who are telling farmers to just buck up, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. You'll get through it. Don't worry about it. Just trust us. Trust us. We're gonna cut your benefits so that later on we could benefit from your lack of benefits. Because obviously corporations need more tax breaks. Because when corporations get tax breaks, they turn around and they give it to all of their employees. Not true. When corporations get tax breaks, they take that money, they buy back their stocks, and people, like the CEOs of these corporations, get bonuses and go off and buy multi-million-dollar homes and yachts. So, if you don't see that, then I think you need to take your blinders off, because these guys are trying to screw you. MAGA gonna screw you. I'm comedian Maz Jobrani. I've got a comedy special on YouTube. It's called The Birds and the Bees. I want you to watch it, laugh, enjoy it, leave a comment, let me know you came from here. And all we can do is laugh at this point. Laugh and maybe protest. Good luck.